the year after 95, Superleague starts to poke its head around. Was that a difficult time for yourself as you were with the ARL aligned club, Manly?
Mate, it wasn't really difficult for me. I mean, I actually when that because when we came back for the Kangaroo Tour, that's when it all blew up.
Yeah.
And I was quite prepared to I was willing and I was ready and willing to sign for the ARL, the then ARL. I went into the head office at Phillip Street, and there was there must have been, I don't know, it felt like there must have been about 20 people before me, and I was there for most of the day. Anyway, so I literally just got fed up with waiting. I wasn't bitter. I just like, oh, I've got other things to
Yeah,
do.
that's right. Yeah.
So I used to live at Redfern, and I walked home from Phillip Street. I walked through Hyde Park, and as I'm walking down through Surrey Hills and that area, I literally walked by News Limited at Holt Street, the old
Okay.
where the News Limited offices are. And as I was walking by there, I just said, "I'll pop up there now and see if there's someone I can talk to, just to see what all this is about," because I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
So I went into News Limited. I spoke to, and up in the office was John Rebo, and he had this young bloke sitting in the room with him. I didn't know who it was. It was Lachlan Murdoch.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was the boss's son. They just started telling me what they were doing, and it was kind of like it kind of blew me away a bit. They weren't like aggressive. Like it wasn't an aggressive sell. I went back the next day. We spoke some figures, and I spoke the figures I thought, and they were like, "No, mate, you're worth more than that."
Okay.
They almost doubled the figures I had. I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, that's pretty hard to say no to."
For sure.
And then yeah, mate, I just signed. I mean, yes, Manly were an ARL aligned club, and the reason I didn't play for Manly in '96 is because after we made the grand final in '95, we got beaten by Canterbury, but they didn't. There was a World Cup happening, and the ARL wouldn't pick any Super League aligned players, and that was like it was a breach of contract. That's why I didn't play the next year. That's why I didn't play in '96. I didn't think that was the right thing to do. I think Gordon Tallis was also another one who sat the year out for that same reason.
Yeah.
Um, uh, as it's turned out, it's been great. It's been great for players. It's been great for the game. It's actually been a good thing for the game. You know, and I mean that's a long time coming. I know that's 20 years ago, more than that, 25 years ago.
Yeah, for sure. Was there any other clubs other than the Cowboys that were interested in yourself,
Yeah,
or were you wanting to go up there?
Originally I signed with the Adelaide team. Were the Adelaide
Yeah,
Rams?
the Rams. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, but what happened? Can't really remember what happened. Oh, actually, something in my personal life happened. I ended up signing with Townsville. Um, but I loved it, Townsville, man. I went up to Townsville in '97. I mean, I was openly gay then, and then they made me like the club captain.
Yeah,
That's quite revolutionary. Like that on a world stage, like an openly gay man in a professional sporting code as, as
captain.
as the captain is like yeah. I do believe the the ARL, NRL, Super League, whatever, all that, they really had an opportunity to be really progressive in and around that inclusion and diversity space when all this was happening. Unfortunately, particularly the NRL lately, yeah, I think they've gone backwards, mate. Yeah, I think Todd Greenberg was great. Like, particularly in was it 2017, they had the Macklemore grand final singing "Same One."
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, we our conversation diverses, mate. So
No, that's fine. That's fine. Happy to talk about anything. Um, you played during a tough era of rugby league, and yourself played the game hard. Uh, we didn't know then what we know now about CTE.
yeah.
Is that a concern for yourself moving forward now?
And I've been involved in a whole load of different programs and research programs about that. I quite literally only a month ago had some testing done, CAT scans and that. And I had a couple of episodes when I was living in the States. I lived in the States for about 7 years. I've been back here now for about 8 years.
Yeah.
I had a couple of episodes in the States, which kind of prompted me to come. I mean, I had to come back. My father was ill, but I did come back, had some testing done, and I don't know. I mean, I do a whole load of cognitive stuff and brain training, whatever they call it. And I don't know if it's a placebo effect or whatever, but I always do feel like I'm in a better situation now than I was 10 years ago. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know if that's a placebo effect. Maybe I'm just, but I don't really care. Like I do, the episodes I had over in the US were really concerning. They were quite terrifying. But I've had no reoccurrence of anything like that. Yes, mate. I think the reason we're more aware of these things now is because the science is out there. Like the science is there now. It's like and people are and ex-players are speaking up now.
Yeah.
It used to be. I feel like there's been this almost like players feel like they're getting tarred with a brush, so like in a negative way about head knocks and the adverse effects, long-term effects and consequences that are quite possible. I think the more all the sporting codes, contact sporting codes, the more they do in and around this space, absolutely limiting and making it a safer sport, needs to happen. I guess there's too much science now, and I think it was really incredibly brave what Mario Fenech did when he did the program about his situation. I love Mario.
Yeah.
Love Mario. I think it was really brave. Like we need to. Him and his wife Rebecca, just they're taking ownership of his situation and trying to help others. We need to be able to have these conversations. People should it should be done respectfully. We should be able to do this without people feeling like they're somehow open for criticism because they're being honest. I do really believe, mate, that the more we can talk about these things we just saw with Roy Simmons and that and all that. So
Simo.
That's
wonderful. Ray Price.
Ray Price. You're like, there's like, you know what I mean? I do believe the more the people are that there's no shame in this, is what I'm saying. And I do feel like in the past there has been this sense of shame that's been kind of overwhelming for a lot of ex-players.
Yeah, for sure. We wish Royce, Mario, and Ray all the best in their challenges that are ahead. Now, post football, you've done a bit of acting in movies and TV shows, and one of my favourites was the role that you played in Underbelly, being George Freeman's bodyguard.
Oh, yeah. That was a real character.
Yeah, that was a great series.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the real character's name. I was actually liaised. Oh God, what's his name? I can't make the name slips from me. Did you ever see Did you see the series Mr. In Between?
I haven't. It's on my list.
I just want to let people. I'm not just saying this because I was in it. Can I tell you, it is the most underrated Australian. It is the best. If you like Underbelly and that time of dark, that dark Australian humour. Yeah, Underbelly.
Check that one out.
Oh yeah, it is such a well-written show. It is such an incredible show. It's so dark, but so that dry Australian humour. It did huge business in the US, but it just never peaked here. It just never. Okay. Underbelly, Mr. In Between. I just finished shooting. A few months back. The next instalment for the Mad Max universe, Furiosa. Okay. So yeah, that was exciting too. We were out in Broken Hill.
Oh yeah, where the originals were filmed.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think Mad Max 2 is one of my favorites out of those series.
Did you like Fury Road, the last one?
It was different to the older ones, the 80s ones.
I love Fury Road. The storytelling was great, and George Miller is an incredible man to work with. I can understand why he's so successful. He just, again, leadership. He just like he utilizes. He says himself the reason he's been successful is because of the people he works with. He listens to the people around him. Like, you know, from the catering service to the electricians to the actors on set, he listens to everyone's suggestions. And if they move the story forward, he's willing to change. He's willing to change a scene there and then if it moves the scene forward in a better way. He's such an exceptional man.
And one of the other things that you also did too, you were runner-up to Tommy Williams in Dancing with the Stars in season two.
You had to rub that in, didn't you? Always,
Sorry,
mate,
sorry, mate.
always the bridesmaid, mate.
Just like Parramatta.
Well, that wasn't fair, mate. He got to take off all his clothes, but for the girls loved him. I'm like, you couldn't. Yeah,
you were a pretty fit athlete yourself, mate.
I
So
was, mate.
maybe that's what you should have done as well.
Yeah,
But
that was quite a wonderful time. That whole process. I mean, it was 10 weeks of filming, and there was 6 weeks prior to we did training in that before episode 1. So we, you know, for ballroom dancing. I will say, for anyone who's been in creative, has a creative side like it within the arts, I didn't realise until about week 7 or 8, and that's after. So this is now week 13 for me because the 6 weeks before that. Yeah. About 7 or 8 of the show, what dancing was about, like, and it's the artistry in it. It was almost a bit like, because it was almost like acting. Sometimes when you're on stage or in front of the camera, sometimes something just drops in. You kind of realise you had this overwhelming sense of, oh, I understand this now. I get it. Okay. I get what this is about. And the whole thing with dancing, it wasn't until about week 6 or 7. Because before that, I was shit. I was so.
So you were out of your comfort zone before then.
I had 3 left feet. I didn't have 2. Like,
yeah.
But I mean, it wasn't until about week 6 or 7, kind of things landed for me, and I was actually okay. And Natalie Lowe, the girl I was with, who was just an absolute rock star, superstar, and she was so patient. She had to be patient with me, mate. She was fantastic. That was such a wonderful experience for me. I mean, that's such a long time ago as well. Wow.
Yeah. Also, now you're a director of Qtopia in Sydney. What does that involve for the listeners that might not know? And yeah, what is it about?
Well, Qtopia is definitely taking up all the oxygen in my life at the moment. So we're creating a cultural centre of history around queer life. Now, the reason I didn't say museum, most people would have used me a museum. We're not an archive. We're not an archive, so museums have archives.
Yeah.
But it will be. It's the old Darlinghurst police station at Taylor Square. We're opening on the 23rd of February next year. I've been involved with this now for nearly 4 years. But it's very, mate. It's a place of education. I mean, like I said before, I'm really about education, mate. Education. We'll be running curricular-linked programs out of here for school, like for primary schools and that, as right through to corporate. The actual premises will have exhibits around the history of queer life in Sydney, right from First Nations right through to colonisation to equality, inequality, and legality and illegality, like all that type of thing. There'll be plenty of, but the exhibitions will be very subversive, a lot of AI stuff. It has to be a real experience for people. It has to be like to have a place like this now. You do really need to have a wow factor. Yep. Like people to walk in and just say, "Oh my God, that is so much more than what I thought it was going to be." It's going to be very submersive, like very engaging, technically as well, digitally, and obviously we'll be touching on stuff that have affected the queer community, like all those things I just said. But education, the HIV situation, First Nations, like I said, legality, illegality, whole process, from cross-dressing right through to trans. It has to be wonderful, informative, but we want people to leave here thinking, "Oh my God, that was almost like a theatre show."
Yeah, yeah, wow. We wish you all the best for that one, the future foundations and or the foundations in place, and wish you all the best for the future in that one. Time for some common league questions. Um, you mentioned the Wigan game before, but is there the Wigan versus Kangaroos game? Is there another favourite game that you played during your career? One that you thought, wow, I just love that game.
It's funny enough, it's probably when I played for Australia. We played against Wigan in
Okay,
'93.
yeah,
When I was on the opposing side, that was like to go back to Central Park and play in front of that crowd again. Um, and Wigan were really sticking it to us in that game as well. Like that, that was another game. It was to play at Wembley also in
yeah,
that game we lost was absolutely also to the sounds terrible because I'm talking about mostly games. I'm talking about games we mostly lost. The grand final we got beaten by Canterbury. I do remember. I mean, I've never been able to watch it since. I've tried to watch it
okay,
probably.
yeah, no, fair enough.
Like I've never just it turns my stomach. It just makes me so uncomfortable. I do remember for a game like it's had such an impact on it. Like I literally can't watch it. I mean, I have tried a number of times to watch it, but I do remember that year. I think we played Canterbury about 4 or 5 weeks out from the end of the regular season, and we actually the worst when we get it was the worst thing that could have happened to us. We actually flogged them. We flogged them by about 40 points.
Yeah,
Like it was like if I still think today if we hadn't if we been beaten in that game, like we just won, it would have been we would have been a much closer result in the grand final. I just feel like we went into the grand final feeling like we were going to win by 40 points again.
okay, yeah,
And like test matches and that type of thing, Origin games. There's so many games.
yeah,
I do think back to that Wigan game, but when I was playing for Wigan, that was close. Yeah, and
yeah,
because I was so young as well, I think.
yeah, for sure. On the big stage, is there other than your home grounds that you played at? Was there a favourite ground that you loved playing at? I mean, you mentioned Wembley there. Is there any others in Australia that you love to play at?
Oh, I mean, you can't go by the SCG, mate. Like it's an unbelievable field to play on, and because it's a cricket ground, and the crowd does feel like it's quite a distance away from you. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
but because it's such a cauldron, and there's all this echoing of all this roar, like this cheering and roaring. It is quite a unique place to stand out in the middle of the cricket ground, mate, getting ready to kick off.
Did you get
Uh,
to play there many times?
yeah, I mean, I'll never forget. There was one situation where when I was playing for South, it was '87, and we were playing. It was the Anzac Day game. We were playing Canterbury at the cricket ground, South, and it was a beautiful day. The sun was like beautiful blue sky, and I'll never forget. Remember David Gillespie?
Yep.
We used to call him Cement. I played with David at Manly, but this is when he was playing for Canterbury and I was playing for the South.
Yeah.
Well, I'll never forget. I mean, I only know this because I've watched the game. Like I don't remember this, but I've only know because I've seen the game on video, VHS. Well, I took the ball up and Cement hit me from my blind side. Like nearly cut me in half, right? When, like he used to wipe
Yeah.
people out.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll never feel like the thing that I started. Well, anyway, all I remember is kind of coming to. I was laying on my back, looking up, and our trainer, what was his name? Merv. Our trainer come in and started slapping me on the face with the sponge and that, and he sat me up. And as I said to him, oh, isn't it a beautiful day, Merv? I felt like I was on Bondi Beach, you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay, yeah. Under the sun.
I said, oh, what a beautiful day. Then I started talking to her. Apparently, I started talking to her something about sunflowers, and but I mean, I had to go off. But I do remember it was just one of those days. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
okay.
like courtesy of Cement, you know what I mean?
Cement.
I used to call him cement because he used to hit like a cement truck.
Yeah, that's it. Well, actually, speaking of hardest hitters in the game and tough players, you yourself were known as a tough player and one of the hardest hitters in the game. I think there's one tackle against Michael Potter, I think it was. That was a classic when you play for Manly. That was massive.
That's when
But
they had a campaign of that photo, didn't they? Like Puma had a campaign for one of their boots called Puma King. It should be called Puma Queen, but
yeah, but yeah, they that one stands out for sure. Uh, you mentioned David Gillespie there. Who else do you think was the hardest hitter in the game at the time?
it's not so much hard hitters. The blokes I used to think were like just made of granite, just tough. Blokes like Jeff Tooby, mate. I mean, Jeff
Yeah,
Tooby's a halfback who had cauliflower ears. You know what I mean? Like that's a pretty rare thing. But he was like he gave 150%, mate. Like he played so above his weight. Those types of players I was always kind of in awe of. Like yeah, Sean Edwards when I was playing for Wigan, he's another,
right.
like they punch above their weight. Yeah, I mean, I really I mean, obviously blokes like Les Davison, Bundy, uh, Spud, you know, like there was so many hard like blocker was just like
Yeah,
crazed at times, you know, like but I used to always be well impressed by the small like the smaller stature blokes who just like just get in there and keep going. I'm just like, oh, yeah, that used to amaze me.
yeah, no, that's for sure. Is there a player that in today's game that if given the opportunity for some miraculous reason that you'd get the opportunity to play with, would
I mean,
there
I
be
think
a player today?
yeah, like I think different generations. You know, like it's the game now is much more scientific. And it's played in like quite literally centimeters. I think the game's, and I'm not saying it's a better game. Well, I actually think it's a better game to watch now because it's so much quicker. But you
Okay.
know, like, and when I say scientific, it's a lot more scientific. I'm not just talking about the training in that, even though you know the training now is very specific, like for different players. But just with the simple things like even what the ball's made of. You can hold the balls now in one hand, and you can
Yeah,
like at full reach, you can wave it around in the air, like holding onto it, and all those incredible like the spectacular stuff that wingers and that are doing in the air over the sidelines and around the goalpost and all that stuff is because of the science and technology. Don't we used to play with those old leather balls when they got
Levelers, yeah.
wet. It was like carrying around
Oh, yeah.
like a cement block, you know.
Yeah, yeah, for
Um,
sure.
I mean, so I think the game. I think the game. I don't know, mate. There are so many incredibly gifted players, but I also think the game's changed to a point. It'd be nice to see. It'd be nice to know. I don't know. Like I used to like the potential of like at scrums now. You've got your offensive and defensive. Both teams set up for that now because 99% of the time they're never going to win a ball against the
That's
hip.
it.
I mean, I've seen in the last few years, I've seen it happen once where the hooker struck out and won a ball against the head. But so it's the game not much now is very offensive, defensive structured. I mean, there isn't a chance. Like when I was playing, like there was a chance you lose lose those scrums, and so it wasn't all you couldn't set up for totally for defence.
Yeah,
Or I'm sorry, offensive. I'd like to see that. I kind of miss the one-on-one stuff as well, but that's again, safety has to be first, and it has to be the most important thing. So, mate, to answer your question, I can't really answer the questions. I think different generations, different players, but I also think any generation from any player would succeed in any other generation too because they would have had the training and the advances and yeah.
that's it. Well, before we get into the set of six personality questions, we'll do the quick top 10 where it's just a simple yes or no or an opinion. We'll start off with cats or dogs.
Um, Oh, you know what? I mean, I've got two cats, but I grew up with dogs.
Yeah.
I live in a unit. Um, I think cats get a bad rap. My two cats are my best friends, mate. I mean, but I love dogs as well. I mean,
Yeah.
we get a dog. I don't know. So my cat, I'm going to say cats.
Okay. Yeah. No, fair
Money.
enough. Ford or Holden?
Oh shit! I would say Holden.
Yeah. Pineapple on pizza? Yes or no?
Oh no,
No. Tea or coffee?
coffee.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Rambo or Rocky?
Rocky.
Peanut butter or Vegemite?
Peanut butter.
Morning or night person?
Ooh, that's tough. I used to be a night person. Yeah, I'd say now I'm more of a morning person than I am night person.
That fair enough. Coke or Pepsi?
Oh, Pepsi.
Seinfeld or Friends?
Oh, Seinfeld. That's a no-brainer, that one.
Yeah, nah, definitely great show. We'll wrap things up with the set of six personality questions. Is there a favourite sport outside of rugby league that you enjoy watching?
I'm going to sound like a bit of a squarehead. I do actually like tennis, watching tennis.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, that is a sport that I will watch on TV. There's not many sports that apart from rugby league, that watch, and the Premier League as well, the soccer.
yeah, nice. What's your favourite holiday destination?
Oh, that's you know what, because I do a lot of scuba. I just went for I was just recently in. I'm a scuba diver, right? Like I've been diving for like
Okay,
40
yeah,
years.
nice.
I just recently went on a dive in Fiji. I went to Fiji for work, but and I did a dive over there. I think it's BEQU or BEQA. I don't know how to spell it, but it was a shark dive. It was like the most incredible thing I think I've ever done in my life.
Wow.
So when I say shark dive, well, as soon as we got in the water, there must have been 30 or 40 like um, big sharks and yeah, bull sharks, and there was a huge tiger shark in the water. But they feed them all the time.
Okay,
So I'd say anywhere you can scuba dive.
yeah, no, nice, nice. Who would be the most famous person you'd love to meet, dead or alive?
Oh wow, that's a tricky one. Dead or alive? God,
Oh, okay. We'll stick with alive then. That one might be a little bit easier.
yeah. I think that's still tough. Um, Someone I'd really like to meet.
And have a chat with, and maybe a cup of coffee with.
Yeah, that's God, that is such a tricky. Oh yeah, okay. It'd be a scientist or something like
Okay, yeah,
it's like I'm trying to think of. It'd be a science like quantum, someone who's into quantum physics and that type of thing, and
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Just pick their brain.
yeah, yeah. I don't have
Um,
one. That's the problem.
which three former players wouldn't you want to be stuck on a deserted island with, and why?
Oh yeah, you potentially get me in trouble here, mate.
Well, it's time to give some people up, if you want to.
Alfie, you chew your ear off. Love Alf.
Yeah.
Uh, Matthew Ridge would he'd drive you crazy talking about himself all the time. Um, and uh, and Desi, he's just too dry. Desi just doesn't talk about any. Desi just doesn't talk. He's not interesting.
Okay, fair enough. Something that the Gold Coast Titans will find out next year for sure then.
He's actually a champion, mate. He's a yeah. I'm just ribbing him there. He'll know that.
What's your specialty dish in the kitchen or on the barbecue?
I'm a terrible cook, mate. Well, I hope I don't offend anyone. Like I've been a vegetarian for a long time. Um, uh, so yeah, I mean, I'm big on curries, mate, only because they're there's a lot of flavour in those. But yeah, I'm not a meat eater, mate. So
Yep. Don't worry, I'm not a good cook either, mate. So all the wife does all the cooking mostly in this place. Who's your favourite musician or band to listen to?
there's probably two. I mean, I grew up like from a teenager, like my early single digits and teenage years, loving ELO.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah, Electric Light
then,
Orchestra, yeah.
then I got into my mod phase, probably Depeche Mode.
Nice, nice. Well, Ian Roberts, thank you very much for joining me today on the Paracay podcast. I watched your career as a kid growing up, play the game and representing New South Wales and Australia. And as I said before, one of the hardest players to play the game. And I really enjoyed the chat today. And hopefully one day we'll catch up and say good day. And thank you very much for coming on the Paracay podcast today.
My pleasure, Troy. You take care, mate, and best to all the listeners, mate. All the best.